Even though this game skipped the original Switch, as I knew it would, I still noticed all the outrage from gamers upon its release. This game was hyped up as a true next-gen experience, but instead what players got was a glitchy mess full of so many game-breaking bugs that Sony actually removed the PS4 version from their digital store. Flash forward nearly 5 years later. A new version is released on the PS5 and Xbox Series X before being released on the Switch 2 as a launch game. With additional content and a barrel full of updates and patches, did we finally get the awesome open-world shooter we were promised? And how well does said shooter work on Nintendo's newest handheld? Let's see with a review of Cyberpunk 2077 for the Nintendo Switch 2. This game establishes a world set over 50 years into the future, setting the majority of the game in Night City, a giant dystopian city directly controlled by corporations, completely isolated from any federal or state government laws, that by itself offering commentary on where our country is now and where it's heading. Playing as V, who is either male or female depending on your customization choices, you return to Night City to start working as a mercenary in the interest of ultimately making a better life for yourself. There's a lot more to the game's story than that, but it's better to unpack the ever-evolving plot as you play, because the story is one of the biggest driving forces in this game, where every person is at least 40% robot, and AI is in everything. Visually, this game looks really good on the Switch too. The character animations have a lot of detail to where even small wrinkles and freckles are visible on their faces, and their movements show great work on the part of the motion capture filming. All these characters are housed in a huge open world that looks very different as the days go from dawn to noon to dusk, and it's at its best at nighttime where all the colorful neon lights fill Night City the way we often think of when we picture futuristic cities, even if this one is of the violent dystopian variety. With how the Switch 2 manages to run all this at a smooth frame rate with very rare instances of brief stuttering, it became clear why this game never graced the less powerful original Switch, and why I needed to buy a new capture card that could handle the 4K Nintendo Switch 2. Good thing I realized this while making my Mario Kart World review. And yes, those patches have made a difference to where I only saw one glitch with an enemy not turning around until I started unloading lead into his head. Otherwise, this is the bug-free edition. And while the load times aren't super short, they are actually shorter than I thought they'd be for such a demanding open-world game. The game is complemented by a great assortment of sound. Sound effects amp up the action and immersion of this shooter as much as the intense music does, with differently paced electronic music further selling the idea of this half-century futuristic setting. The most attention though is put to the voice acting. Because of how much of this game is dialogue before and sometimes during the violent confrontations, it was important to get a well-rounded and diverse cast of talented voice and mocap actors, and it seems Cyberpunk 2077 did just that, as these actors do a great job of bringing this world to life, including the likes of John Wick himself, Keanu Reeves.
Zapper dumples and filth. In some ways, Night City never changes.
First of all, there's a lot of customization for your character. I mean more than I've ever seen before, especially for a first-person shooter. There are a lot of detailed options for colors, facial features, tattoos, piercings, even bodily tech additions, which makes sense given the tech-centric world that this game throws us into, one that has people with USB cables coming out of their arms. On top of that, there's a level up system that gives you perks so you can give yourself new helpful abilities in a skill tree. There are a ton of different ways you can upgrade yourself to suit your playstyle and what kind of challenges you expect to run into in the future. Do you want to improve your traits for dialogue scenes or technical know-how to make hacking easier, or focus more on physical attributes for driving, combat, and ripping doors open? I mentioned dialogue skills because, believe it or not, these dialogue scenes take up a lot of time in this game. We've seen games that let you choose what to say next over the past decade or so, but this game takes that idea a step further. Your levels and certain attributes let you choose more responses which may wield better results than the options they give you by default. This matters because the choices you make could mean the difference between a peaceful end to the exchange where the other character gives you what you're after, and a full-blown firefight breaking out instead. For interactions with allied NPCs, your choices could affect how they see you as a person, how well they trust you, what ways they're willing to help you, things like that. It's actually a clever mechanic that feels rather down to earth with how much people talk, or should talk to each other in real life. Unfortunately, being that this is still a video game, this focus on dialogue exchanges can at times make the pacing feel slower than most players would like. Rest assured though, there are times where you have no choice but to start blasting. The gun controls are good, though a lot of guns have surprisingly high recoil that can make aiming harder. You'd think that'd be something they fix in 50 years. Well, it helps that you can purchase upgrades for your guns, and there are a lot of different modern guns you can use that have some kind of enhancement you can picture being real in the future. Plus, CD Projekt took the time to make their NS2 version work with 4 different control styles. Standard buttons and sticks, gyro aiming, touchscreen controls when playing in handheld mode, and even mouse controls for those of you who insist on playing all FPS games that way. It's crazy in a good way to see a game with all these options for players and their different preferences. But I have to admit I was disappointed by the lack of laser guns. They do exist in this game, but they're rare and hard to get. However, I also like that you can use your fists and swords in combat. Both great options for close quarters fighting, but sword blocking felt a bit inconsistent. But sometimes you can avoid the intense combat by using stealth, which even features the ability to move bodies so you can hide them. To help you take down your enemies quietly, you can also hack nearby objects much like Watch Dogs, but that very concept has been expanded upon here. You have more options for hackable objects which can help you distract a nearby enemy or simply shut down a device or make someone's battery burst into flames or electrocute them to do some early damage if your plan is to run in guns blazing. It's a fantastic design of stealth gameplay that helps this game stand out from the many stealth games you already have out there. The game also has some puzzle solving, usually in the form of hacking or analyzing what are called brain dances to find clues towards something or someone you're searching for. Hacking is pretty solid since it isn't too hard to do and you have to be fast to secure what you need. As for the brain dance thing, this feels like the next step in detective style puzzle solving like what we saw in Batman Arkham City, moving around and scanning objects while a crime scene is being recreated. But now you're scanning sound waves. It's pretty cool. In between all of these things, it can be nice to drive through the city, but some cars can be a little wonky to drive for some reason. Luckily, it's a lot easier to pull off roadside action scenes when an ally is driving, and there's an easy-to-use fast travel system. As visually appealing as Night City is, you might want to look out for those fast travel terminals because this big city has plenty to do. By the time I got 8 hours in, there was still so much of the city I hadn't explored yet. You've got story missions, side jobs, semi-legal boxing fights, cars and guns to buy, and serial killers to bring down, all in the open world that never needs to stop and load the next section of the city or anything like that. There are also little things you can do in the open world, like play some games, buy food and drinks, pet hairless street cats, say hi to random NPCs who don't want to chat, or typical open world things like, you know, driving recklessly or generally causing violent chaos until the city police shoot you down. I guess we know what GTA set in the future would be like. This NS2 launch game is being sold for $70. There is probably more to say about that price point being either an NS2 tax or AAA games in general going up in price. But because of how much there is to this game and how well it handles its presentation and mechanics, it is a game worth playing either by buying it or at least renting it from Gamefly. Just be warned, if you go the rental route, it might be a long while before you can return it for your next game. Hopefully it goes on sale for $10 off sometime. If it does, then you might as well buy this, especially if you like story-heavy open-world action games. Well, that's my review of Cyberpunk 2077 for the Nintendo Switch 2. To help me produce more videos like this, please support my Patreon page. Special thanks to my current patrons here. Remember that supporting my Patreon gets your name in the credits and access to my main videos a day early. Also be sure to watch my previous reviews of these other open world games, Saints Row 4 for the Switch, and Watch Dogs for the Wii U. See you all next time!
Scratched your baby up pretty bad. Sorry, V.